Welcome to Leehalot podcast, a space for Jewish women to share the story behind the spark, how they encountered their inner light, nurtured it, and found the courage to let it illuminate the world. This is your space to rise, to shine, and to bring your unique light into the world. Bonjour, Joelle.
Thank you so much for bringing me here today.
I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so happy I have the privilege to know you. I've known you for a year and a half already, and it's been a privilege. And somehow I felt very connected from the first moment we spoke. I don't know why, maybe because of the energy that you had even over the phone. But I've been wanting to know more about you. So that's why I invited you today to share with me, but also with our friends of Lehaalot, because I think you have a very special light, and I would love to know more about how you revealed it to this world.
Thank you so much. Yesterday, when I was at the Midrasha, I noticed the banner in the back with all the different taglines of Leehalot. Hashem needs you. Hashem loves you. Reveal your light. It's so funny that Hashem brought you into my path, because it's something that I want to try to do for people in my community. Like it's something I'm aspiring to do. So I appreciate you as a role model in that sense. I don't know where you want me to start.
So I would like to ask you a question. Mm-hmm. If your life was a book,
yes,
what would be the title?
Okay. So initially, I thought it would be, I stole it, right, from the chief rabbi of Israel, from the ashes. But when I was thinking more about this question, I think it doesn't pinpoint exactly the title. It's rather the will to persevere. The will to persevere.
It's interesting. We are in the week of Netzach.
Wow. Wow. That's very, very interesting. It's very cool.
The will to persevere.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, because I think this is what has been able to maintain you, to continuously nourish and nurture your flame. But I really love the very natural title that you gave, the instinctive title that you gave, that was From the Ashes. Because first of all, you're going to tell us about your story and why you started with that first title. But I think, when we don't think too much, mm-hmm. our neshama gives a hint of what its real mission is. And somehow, the ashes come from a flame. And so again, it is a part of how did you reignite mm-hmm. this light? Mm-hmm. So I'm very interested in both ways,
okay,
in both titles, and maybe there's a longer title that you will see after.
Yeah,
would you like to tell us where you come from?
Yeah, so it starts really with my parents, who come from two completely different worlds, completely different places, but at the same time, they represent, for me, I always say to people, I represent the entire Jewish people. I come from the Ashkenaz world and the Sephardic world. So on my mother's side, she's from Tétouan, and her family...
Can you explain where Tétouan is?
Yes, Tétouan is from northern Morocco, so it's called the Spanish zone. Very different from the south, and they're very vocal about how they're different. They could trace themselves right back to the expulsion of the 1492. Exactly. Wow. Yeah. So they really, really held on. That's why they're called La Zone Espagnole, because they really held on to the Spanish European culture in a way that the Jews from the south didn't.
It's true. They were more influenced by the Arab.
Exactly. So that's on my mother's side. So she always, and just who she is as a person, she specialized in Judeo-Spanish song. And yeah, I'll tell you about her after. like recording all the songs that were transmitted from grandmother to mother from the time of the Inquisition to when she was born in 1948. And just also songs that she herself grew up with. So I had that, and she would always talk about it. And she's also a storyteller, and she was a Spanish professor. So I really grew up with this very real sense of connection to the past. You know, some the Americans that I've met, either in Canada, in my community, or just here, many of them are 4th or 5th generation Americans, so they don't know necessarily where they come from. But I had that growing up in the house, the Spanish, we weren't from Canada, and my mother was very insistent on holding on to those roots. Very, very much, yeah. And then
in French, we say un passeur de flambeau.
Mamash.
How would you say that in English?
A torchbearer, maybe?
A torchbearer,
yeah.
From Inquisition,
yes,
to Montreal,
yes,
Canada.
Yeah. And she had her own path, also Paris, New York. So she really clung onto that, because she left her home when she was 16. Very unusual. Very unusual for a woman in that time to go to university also. But she's a very, very unusual, beautiful, inspiring person, 100%. And then on my father's side, he really comes from the ashes, really, really. So he was born in 1946 in Poland. My grandparents, on my grandmother's side, she came from a more traditional Jewish family. She had a Yiddish name. Yeah. She was one of 6.
What was his
survivor? Zisel. Zisel means sweet. Yeah. And then my grandfather came from a very assimilated background. So my father grew up with zero, nothing. Aside from the fact that he knew he was Jewish, he did not know what Yom Kippur was until he met my mother. He just knew I'm Jewish.
It's so beautiful to see the ashes on one side with that fire that has extinguished, and another one bringing a fire from 500 years, a 500 years old fire, a torch,
yes,
and coming to reignite those ashes.
Yes.
It's so deep and so beautiful.
Yeah, thank God. Amish. Yeah.
So you grew up on one side with a Jewish culture, tradition, and on the other side, the side of your father, more the feeling of being part of the Jewish people,
yeah,
but not so attached to traditions.
Right. So my mother really mekareved my father in many ways. So, you know, when I was growing up, we went to shul. It kind of evolved as I was growing up. They evolved too.
You had siblings?
Yes, I have 2 older brothers.
So you're the baby elephant.
I'm the baby and the only girl.
Wow.
Yeah. And we have pretty wide gaps between us. So what happened was my parents were evolving. At the beginning, I grew up we drove to shul, we did the Chankim, Pesach, we watched Les 10 Commandements, you know, like it was very classic Sephardic in many ways. And then my oldest brother, who's 11 years older than me, he started his journey. He was probably 17. So I was 6. And yeah, slowly he brought the family to Kashrut, Shabbat, like real Shabbat.
A real authentic Judaism.
Yes. He took from my father's side. So he's a real Ashkenazi, Lithuanian. Yeah. And I grew up with his example. Like in many ways, he's my spiritual father. In many ways, yeah.
What's his name?
Manny Leverowitz. He has the title of rabbi, even though he works in real estate. He is a real Talmid Chacham. He'll never say it, but I know it. He was in learning for years and years, and you would never know if you saw him, but he didn't grow up this way. You would never, ever know. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And he embraced it with love, not out of fear, not after...
No, I mean, I don't think so. I always remember being little and he was teaching me, droplets here and there. So when I was 12, he was already in yeshiva and he would call me. We would learn Pirkei Avot. Wow. He was very like that. We had like a very special connection.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So you grew up in a traditionalist family, but really you had this example of what it is to live a true, authentic Torah life.
Yeah.
And to have a Jewish home.
Yes. Very dedicated, very committed. So when I was 14, he got married and he moved to the States, to Baltimore. So I would go twice a year to visit him. Thank God they had a family right away. And at first I thought, okay, he's that, like, I'm in my adolescence. I'm fully in pop culture. I wanted to go to Hollywood. I did theater for 10 years. It was my dream to go Hollywood. My brother always makes fun of me. He goes, imagine you would have been, 18 and living in a shoebox in New York, trying to make it. I think about it all the time.
So you have a talent for singing like your mom?
It's mostly acting. It's mostly acting. I always love the theater. I love the stage. I love connecting with people. Sometimes people think that performers are more self-centered. And they can be. It's a very consuming world, which is why I'm so grateful not to be in it in that way. But there's something about theater which is so real. It's so, not only is it an outlet for a person to express themselves, but it's just such an interesting way to connect to people in a way. It's funny because you think acting, okay, so you're putting on a show, but really no, to be a good actor, you actually have to be completely barriers down and totally present in the moment, to be able to react to what's going on, to be able to
be vulnerable,
to be
sensitive.
Yes. That's when the real theater happens. That's when people, you can't fake emotion. You can't fake connection even. You can't fake a story. It's really interesting. I lost my train of thought completely. So I was in that world. I was in this world of, Hollywood. I had posters all over my room of different actors, huge mega-sized poster of Leonardo DiCaprio. I was convinced I'm converting him and we're getting married. 100%. That's what's going to happen.
That was exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, love it. So there's that. And then every time they came over, I had to cover the walls. I remember. And then when I went to them, it was just, tzniut, me to the max. And
how did it feel to have to live through those two worlds and feel good? Did you feel good in both?
No. When I went to him at first, I was very uncomfortable. I had to put on, I wasn't in that space at all yet. I was so consumed in my own world with my own social life. I wasn't interested. What happened was what made me, pause, rewind. We absorb things and we don't realize we're absorbing them in life. So that could be bad. It could be good, meaning you could be in a toxic environment and you're absorbing, and you could be you can have a lot of positive influences around you. And they're making space. They're going inside. So that's what happened with him and his family, and the example that he showed me. When I was 16, I graduated high school. I went to traditional Zionist Sephardic style school. And it was the first time I was in a non-Jewish environment.
Wow.
So in Quebec, there's something called Cégep, which is in between high school and I think university. There's 2 years. So we graduate in grade 11. And then we have 3 years of a bachelor's. So the grade 12 and the first year of the bachelor's is something called Cégep. And
there's no Jewish Cégep?
No.
So everybody has to go through Cégep, and from, let's say, a sheltered environment, have to come into a non-Jewish world, like the...
Yes. When we say everybody, we're talking about the non-yeshiva Beis Yaakov.
Because they don't go for...
No.
They go straight to seminary. They go to yeshiva.
Seminary, exactly, for yeshiva. Yeah. So, it really struck me. I wasn't expecting to be struck at all. It was the first time you could choose what you're studying. So I was very excited to go to this Cégep, and I got accepted to a very elitist type. I have like an elitist in me that my parents went to Columbia. It's not something to be proud of now with what's going on, but I always, I came out with this, and my dad went to Harvard training. So I'm like, no, I'm going to Marianopolis, not to the common person, Cégep. And even in that more elitist, you would think more refined space, I just realized right away that I'm different.
Because you are Jewish.
Because I'm Jewish, I don't really know why. It came to me slowly as I was going through my courses. I studied liberal arts and communication, so it's a much more open social studies classes, very, the values are all over the place. And in those specific programs, unlike business or sciences or more square things, now you're getting into the world of philosophy and ideas and morality and what's right, who's right, how do we define rights, how do we, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I didn't know what to do with myself. And as I told you, 2 years prior to entering Cégep, I think it was my first real experience where I felt, oh my, where I was also shaken when I went to the March of the Living. I was 16, and I went for the first time to the camps. That was like, just to take you a little bit before the Cégep. I always forget that part, that it was the first time where I felt oddly very empowered. I got a sense in the camps, in the ashes, literally in front of this dome of ashes at Majdanek, that I'm very important. I'm very, very important. Sorry. No, I'm very important. And because I'm Jewish, and the Jewish people are critical to the world.
So let's try to dig into that. I'm very important.
Yes.
You came to that conclusion because if someone or generations of someone's have tried to annihilate these people, it must be because we are so important.
Yeah. Especially when it's the greatest darkness. Why is the greatest darkness trying to wipe you out? So you have to be the greatest light. And so I had that, and then I came to this non-Jewish environment. I didn't know what to do with myself. So, for some women, the hardest struggle is tzniut. I said, I'm different. I have to like physically manifest it. I put on a skirt. Yeah.
To manifest your difference.
Yeah.
To show that you are part of this important light.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know, again, maybe it's the elitist in me, but I felt this isn't, we know the way. I don't know. There's something that is wrong about the way that this society is functioning and how it determines its values. And I have to bring my tradition and guide others because people are very lost. I got that sense.
You became that Jewish queen, if I can say. I'm going to tell you, you know that maybe our audience doesn't know, but the moment Esther HaMalka in the Megillat is called Esther is when she dresses up as a queen, and she accepts her role to be that light for her nation and to fight for them. And that's the moment where we call her Queen Esther and not just Esther. And she is our queen at that moment. And it's very interesting, the link between the levush, the garment, and embracing our role and our Jewish identity. And that's something that is so difficult for Jewish women, for many Jewish women, me included. I didn't grow up religious. I was wearing pants. I had a totally different journey. But the moment where I had to embrace my Jewish identity is the moment I decided that I had to wear skirts and to become snoot. And not a lot of people look at that step as entering royalty, but it is, because if you look at there are still very different examples, but for instance, an actress as Meghan Markle,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
She was wearing shorts and tank tops, and she was dressed up like as a regular woman from Western society. But the day she became a princess of England, what did she wear? Officially, she would wear the garment of a princess.
Yes.
And she would dress tzanoah. And it's the same with the First Lady, Mrs. Trump.
Yes.
The day of where Mr. Trump, President Trump, became a president again, she was so tzanoah.
Yes.
This is a garment of a princess, of a queen.
Yeah.
Is it possible to step into this royal nation without this garment? That's an interesting point. I like the way you embraced it. You empowered yourself, and it felt like, I'm different, so I'm going to dress up like that.
Yeah, I think the theater background helped me because when we dress up, and if you've been trained in theater, you feel different right away.
Definitely.
And it's so funny because, and I understand why I understand why it's very difficult to embrace snoot. At the same time, when I started dressing differently, it's very interesting the responses that I received around me. I noticed the way that men were just approaching me differently, and even how certain friends of mine or women interacted with me. There's a dignity that comes with it that radiates from it. And if you're, I guess, an emotionally sensitive person, you could feel it right away. You could feel it right away in the same way that you could feel right away when you put on something else, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be knots, and it brings out a certain vibe in you or a certain energy.
Mm-hmm.
True. Yeah. So thank you. I was there.
Sorry, you interrupted you.
No, not at all. I didn't know that about the Megillah. It's beautiful. It's so true. It's just so true. I went after, I was entering my second year in Seychelles. My good friend Vanessa was dating someone in the army, and she said she just wanted to get to Israel. And I said, so she found a trip. She found, I think she was at Stern College, so she was kind of like modern Orthodox at the time. And she said, I found a trip to Israel. It's free, 3 weeks, all girls learning. Let's go. I don't know if she even wanted to go, but it was interesting to me. I said, okay, I really want to do this, especially before my last year, before I go into university. Yes. I felt it's going to help guide me, orient me. And I was already, Shomer Shabbat, I was already kosher, I was tzniut, more or less. And at first the trip director refused to accept me because it's really for people zero, like really zero. Even the background is zero, not just them that they're just starting.
That's why he's a
sponsor. Exactly, sponsored. I really tried to push myself in, downplay a lot, while being honest. And my parents, as they always are, so yashar, so real.
Can you translate yashar?
Yes, so straight, so honest. They said, you do not need a sponsorship. We're paying for your trip. Don't take it away from somebody else.
Yes.
Baruch Hashem, we could pay for it. It's not a big deal. So thank God I ended up on this trip.
Wow.
And it was the stamp to the envelope. It was like, boom. I felt so strengthened from this trip. I'm a very cerebral person.
Yes.
Virgo. So for me, I had to not just know emotionally, but in my mind that Torah is emet. Torah it's the truth. It's the objective truth. It's not just another religion, because then who cares? I want to know. I want to know that I'm living in the reality, so to speak, the truth with a capital T. And they had so many lectures and, proofs of Torah, this and that. And I know a lot of people don't resonate with that at the time. That's really what I needed. And that's really what did it for me. And I came back flaming, as they say. One of my friends said to me, you're religious, but you were always cool. You were always cool religious.
Why did you
turn out then we love that? Because once you go Shema, okay. So I said, I'm sorry, I'm not cool anymore. I'm sorry, but this is who I am. And it's funny because I really embraced, I'm much cooler now than I was then. I really embraced my brother's community style, the floor length skirts, those at the time the style was slinky black skirts. I was like, yeah, the mascot, and I was.
But did you need also that voix, comment est-ce qu'on va dire, guide, comment on peut dire voix en anglais? That strictness? Yes. In order to get away from where you were, let's say, to be in your role a little bit more in order for that costume to become you.
That's definitely what I felt at the time, and I'll explain to you why. I didn't have a rough. My brother wasn't rough, so I would ask him my questions, and then if there were more serious questions, he would ask his rough. So the question now was, should I continue and go to university? And his rough said, I still remember the words, if she could be like a lion, if she could really be like a lion, then
she will survive at this jungle.
Yeah, exactly. Then she'll survive and she could do it. Yeah. So,
were you that lion?
I had to be. I was in such a lefty program. Again, thank God I got into a program. It's renowned in Canada. It's Concordia Communications Program. 100 people get in the entire program. And it's just the most liberal, communications, video, marketing. It is so very neighboring. In the pool of, you're in Greece. You're in Greece. Greece. And you have to be a Yehudit.
Again, that light. Oh my God, you're making us travel in the entire Jewish history with that torch. That torch from Greece, Inquisition, the ashes, and Montreal. Reigniting that torch. It's so beautiful, but you had to go to Israel to really own that light.
Yeah.
Make it yours.
Yes. So I was nearing the end of my studies in university. So I was about 20. I met my husband, David. He was the first boy I ever dated. I met him at 20. And actually, I met his parents, my in-laws, my dear in-laws, before I met him. They were friends at the Chabad in my community, Chabad Westmount. They were friends with my parents. So
you live in the same community?
Yes.
But you didn't know each other?
No, so we didn't. His parents lived in my community.
Okay.
And he's originally from Brazil. He grew up in France. His parents moved here.
Wow.
He was in Toronto studying. Yeah. So we met. We went out 3 times. Like I said, I was flaming. And he came in jeans. And I said, no. No. And he didn't go to yeshiva yet. And I felt very young. I really felt I want to go to seminary. So we broke it off, I guess. But we still stayed in touch. We're speaking too much for his comfort. He said, okay, what, you want to date again? I said, sure. And this time he was more solid in his Judaism and his own journey. And
how many years in between? 1 year?
A year, yeah. And I knew I wanted to marry him, but at the same time I said, I can't marry you if you haven't gone to yeshiva. You have to go. So he was in yeshiva. He started in September, and then we got engaged. I went to Israel to get engaged while he was in yeshiva in January, and then we got married in June.
Can you tell us which yeshiva you went to?
Yeshivat Esh HaTorah. There's no other yeshiva to go to. It's informational.
And it's not only that, but again, do you see?
Yeah.
The torch, one more time, the light, the flame, the fire. It's all along. Yours a beautiful story. Beautiful.
Thank you. It's so nice to be able to share one story because you make sense of your life, and it's a very therapeutic experience actually, and it's very empowering as well because you get to own your story, you get to own your journey. So thank you. So we got married at 20. I was 22, and I said, I feel bad. I didn't give him so many choices, but I think he's happy with the choices. So he went along with it. I said, we have to start off in Israel. That's what we're doing. And okay. And my parents, what's your plan? What's this? What's that? We're starting off in Israel. You have to start marriage in Israel. He has to be learning. That's how it is. So that's
your parents were okay with all that?
I think so. My brother, my oldest brother, he's a tzaddik, so he stepped the path. So he got the grunt of the hardship and the struggle. He opened the sea for you. He opened it up, and it went nachshal mamash, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. I wouldn't have had the strength to go up against my parents. It's not something as nature. No. And also as a woman, it's just not the same dynamic.
I agree.
So yeah, we started off there. My first child was born there. And
was Huni or is his name?
Yes, Avram Nissim. Yeah. He was a miracle baby, so I gave birth very prematurely to him.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Because we forgot to mention an important part of your life, and we're going to go to that, I guess. I'm very interested in that. But you're working for Puah, so I'm very interested in how you became a mother.
Okay. So, Baruch Hashem, I never had issues with fertility, but I did have issues carrying the pregnancy to term. And at about 23 weeks, my wire broke. I went to the doctor. I was in labor. I didn't know what labor was.
It was your first
It was my first pregnancy.
and there was no sign. The doctor never saw anything before.
Not really. Now, in retrospect, I realize I had some signs. I was contracting too much in, let's say, 20 weeks.
Yes.
But I went to the doctor's office in labor. I was in so much pain. I remember standing in Yerushalayim, like waiting for a taxi. I had to hold myself against a wall. Yeah.
You were on your own?
I was alone. I didn't know.
You were just out to check with the doctor.
Exactly. And the man, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I got there. You're in labor.
What is
Hey, he said to me, I want you to be prepared because before 24 weeks, we don't try to save that baby. I didn't even know what to do. I was on the table. Okay, I called David. David told the yeshiva, please pray. I was rushed to the hospital, just being bound. From the doctor's office, it was 2-minute drive in the ambulance to Bikur Chorim. It's no longer Bikur Chorim. It closed down, but on Strauss Street in the middle of the city center. And okay, there was all this commotion. My water broke and then the labor stopped, which is very odd. It's hafuch. So, okay, they put me on bed rest, and 2.5 weeks later, I started bleeding again really badly, and they said, okay, this is a sign of placental abruption, and we're going to do a cesarean. It was at 26 weeks. The only comfort I had,
baby was sleeping.
Safer, exactly, safer, and he told me the lungs are much more developed than 26 weeks, yeah.
We had received the shot, and I had received the shot.
Gary, yes, yeah. So yeah. So my miracle was born, and it was Adar, which I found very comforting. It was right after Purim, so Nes, Nisim, and everything was hafuch, like I said. Like,
can you translate Puah?
Everything was flipped.
Which one is a degree of praise?
Which is typical, yes. Yeah. Yeah, so he stayed in the hospital for a little bit, 2.5 months, and then his Brit Milah was on the day he was supposed to be born on June 5th.
Wow.
It was very beautiful. We had tremendous support. I'm so grateful. We were in Eretz Yisrael, just to have even the, not religious, they're okay, we're praying and this and that, and
bringing you food and feeling the support of the community, being really part of a larger family.
Yeah, but specifically in Israel, and specifically by the Kotet, with the Zin, I was so grateful because it was a discussion. My parents had told me, do you want to come to Canada? This was before it happened, to give birth. We don't, you don't know the system in Israel. And I said, no, I want to be here. And my husband's grandmother, she was very old at the time. She came to live with my in-laws. So I said, I want her to be able to see her great-grandchild. And and that's how I became a mom. I was thrown into it.
You were weakened.
Yeah.
Rushed.
Yeah. Yeah, and now he's 12 and a half at
Baal Hashem. So he was born in 2012.
Yes.
June 5, in February. Yeah.
So after Israel, we stayed 2 years, and then I felt it's time to go back. It was just we didn't know really what we were doing there. It was time to sort of settle a little bit more. So we went to Montreal, and I was doing marketing work. Fast forward a bunch of years, and 5 kids later, thank God, there. It was, let me see, 2022. No, yeah, 2022. My neighbor, a good friend, Morny Silber, thank you. He calls me, says, we did a lot of work exchanges. We worked together before and passed each other work. He told me, I have a client, it's Puah fertility, Okay, we're just schmoozing about it. He was asking me for ideas and this, and just bouncing off ideas with me. And I started researching, and I said, this is so cool. And I was telling him, yeah, and you could do this with common teachers and this and that. And he goes, hey, see, you understand, because you're female. This is a very, even though it's for couples, it's a feminine domain.
That's true.
And so what happened was they needed a project manager. So that was my introduction to Puah. It wasn't even directly through them. Puah hired a company to run their marketing and their logistics and some of their administrative work. So that company hired me as a project manager to manage Puah. Then what happened was that I fell in love with the organization. So
where is it located?
The office is in New York, in Flatbush, but it's all over. We have
Can you
calls.
tell us a little bit about Puah?
Yeah.
The organization itself, when it was founded, by whom?
Yes. So it was founded by Rav Mordechai Eliyahu Zatzal in the late 1970s in Eretz Israel. And it was really a response to IVF treatment. So IVF treatment.
There was a very beginning of IVF treatment.
Correct.
In the world.
Yes, the first IVF treatment was in 1978. Oh, first IVF baby. Sorry, not drunken. Obviously, as Jews who are into family, so many questions, flooded. The rabbis all over were flooded. How do we do? What is this? Can we do this? When do we, please? And Rav Mordechai Eliyahu was the chief rabbi of Israel at the time. So he was getting a ton of questions. And he decided to look into this treatment and how to make it kosher. And he's the one who brought it to the Jewish world, essentially. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So Puah offers an halachic way to navigate, like a GPS for us, but not only, right?
Yeah.
It's not only halachic questions.
It's not, but I love what you just said about GPS, because I've been trying to find a very short way to explain it to people in less than 5 words.
And this is 3 letters.
This is 3 letters. GPS. It's exactly that. It's a GPS for anyone who's on a reproductive health journey. And the reason I say that is because people think it's only for couples, and it's not. It's halachic medical guidance, emotional support, and financial assistance to singles and couples.
To singles of
Yes, singles who need egg freezing, singles who need sperm freezing.
everything, of course.
Yeah, fertility preservation, genetics.
And bringing awareness also to the Jewish world on the possibility of doing it in a kosher way.
Correct.
Right? Because I see we met through one of those events that you organized beautifully, in order to bring awareness to the population about Puah, and also Puah, but to inform them that what is normal, not normal, how to prevent, how to live a healthier life in order to nurture gut health and be a torch passer, bearer.
Yeah.
We can write a little something.
Okay.
Like a caption. Yeah, something.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we're back after this pause. So you were telling us about Puah. And how many, so it has been created in the late 70s. How did it come to Montreal? Or Attends, je vais refaire. I'm going to do it over.
C'est pas royal. C'est aux États-Unis.
Aux États-Unis en général, yeah. There's no happy in Montreal? Not yet. Okay. So, what is the strategy of development of Puah today? Is it located in the entire United States? Does it exist in Europe? In Montreal? In Latin America?
Yes, we're in 5 countries. Israel, the United States, Mexico, France, and Canada as well.
It is so special to be able to be that person who hosts that, who brings awareness about that Puah. And your role is to promote Puah, or you do more than this?
Yes. So my official title is Awareness and Events Director. And I just talk about Puah whenever I can, I guess. But yeah, to really, on a more concrete level, it's really to develop that brand awareness as much as possible across the United States.
Okay. So if any one of you wants to host an event, if you are a leader of a community and you want to bring awareness and to help so many women, it's a very silent pain, sterility, because no one really wants to speak about it. Recently, I was interviewing Lizzie Savetsky, who opened up on that, and she told me for many years, nobody knew that we were trying and we couldn't conceive. And we hear that from so many people. So being that voice and being able to help that voice be loud is something very important. So at Lehaalot, we're very happy to be able to make some space for Puah. And if you want, we can connect you to Joelle, and you can be also a speaker for that voice.
Yes.
Demande him. Let's go back to your inner flame. So I like to see the direction of the mission, because that's how I am passionate about getting to know women. I had the chance to work with women for many years, first at the French Chabad and now with Lehaalot, I would say for 17 years already. And I am amazed by the beauty of a Jewish woman. Physically, it's one thing, definitely. But the beauty of that feminine energy, being able to make space for the other one to grow, to exist, to live. And once that person is lit, is elevated, and that's why we chose Lehaalot as the name of the organization, Lehaalot, to elevate. Once that person is elevated, she can shine and be that torchbearer to other people. And I feel like the Chafetz Chaim said that Am Yisrael would not be Am Yisrael without the merit of the righteous women who definitely kept Taharat HaMishpacha. But through Taharat HaMishpacha, it's the flame of Am Yisrael that we kept. Yes. And I feel like what I like to explore in you is the fact that you come from 2 families that survived destruction. One recent, and many more, because we know that Ashkenazim went through so many pogroms and so many problems and trail of destructions. And on the other side, you come from Inquisition, and you're holding very tightly to that root. Not a lot of people are able to trace their origins to 500 years ago. As Jews, we can, right? And you particularly. And I feel that you took that was your heritage, but you also made it yours. Maybe when you went to Israel and that you owned the flame, that now you know what you're going to do with this flame. You're going to embrace it, first of all, because not everyone wants to carry that torch, that flame of Am Yisrael. And then you also made it yours in the way that you you could have used that flame or let that flame be consumed, because that's one word that you mentioned when you mentioned your passion for theater, for Broadway life, for the stage. And it's so interesting how Hashem gives us the bechira, the freedom of choice. He gives us that flame. It's there, it's inside. You have a mission, your neshama came with a mission. Your neshama is Simcha, right?
Simcha Miriam.
Simcha Miriam. So you have such a special mission. Wow, and Miriam is Puah.
Yes.
Oh my God. The second name of Miriam,
Yes.
Hanevia, is Puah.
Never connected that ever.
So you took that flame with Simcha. You used your beautiful talents that could have been used to shine and to consume that Jewish neshama that would have never been able to really accomplish the mission that it came in this world for, but you decided to channel that passion and make that flame and that fire inside of you be channeled towards Torah, towards a life of continuing the beautiful word, the beautiful mission of Miriam, who fought to continue giving birth to kids, to babies in his time, in that narrowness. It's so
No
beautiful.
pressure. No pressure at all.
And now I want to ask you a question, because we spoke a little bit before this podcast, in order for me to get to know you a little bit. And you told me that you had a desire to now mekarev women, which you probably already do, but in a more organized way. And so mekarev means to help women to come closer, to get to know their Jewish identity, to get to know what Torah is, and to understand how they can also channel their own flame in the right direction. And it's not that there's a wrong direction, but the neshama comes in this world and becomes incarnated in a body. That body is a levush of the neshama, the clothing, the garments of the neshama. And that body has specific needs, also specific talents. And we can use those talents to serve the body, the needs of the body, or we can use those talents to serve the neshama. And you decided to do that, and you want to, today, you have the opportunity to use your own talent of being best actress, being at ease speaking in public, maybe, because you did a lot of acting, being able to use all the beautiful physical beauty and talents that Hashem gave you in order to ignite that flame in other women. And I really am so admirative of who you are and how you brought your light, your inner light, to this point. And I can't wait to see now you in maybe 1 year and you sharing your beautiful projects of becoming that lamp lighter for your community in Montreal is way above Bezrat Hashem. I feel like it's such a beautiful, beautiful book that you shared with us today.
You wrote the story. You're the one who really took it and you wrote it and packaged it beautifully.
I'm just adding it on. And I think it's from ashes to bright light, to important light. That's the story of the Jews, and that's the story of us. Thank you so much for sharing.